Transfers are wild, even to the point where sometimes you need to record videos at 1:45 in the morning because a bit of news has slipped through and you've completely forgotten to record about it. I think this should be going up at like 8 AM. We'll find out. As we know, the Joe Rothwell news appeared seemingly from nowhere. There was no conversation around it, and now there seems to be another shock move incoming. I say incoming, technically outgoing, because it seems to be Glen Kamara potentially departing. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that's really not good, but I think it depends on circumstances, and I thought I'd run you through absolutely everything we know so far, and that is everything we know so far. It includes what the move is, the finances behind it, the conversation around a replacement, and a little bit more, including how it's going to affect the squad. So I'm going to start off by running through exactly what the story is. And it's relatively simple-ish. Basically, this is one of the more public moves that's happened. Since the window started, word has spread about interest coming from Rennes. When Leeds United signed Glen Kamara last year from Rangers, Rennes were also in that conversation, thinking, you know what, we might have a go at this guy because he's a fairly good midfielder. The issue with Rennes is they have already lost Enzo LUFC, who went to Roma. They've had a couple of other players going out and didn't qualify for Europe last year, and they want to do a little bit more of a rebuild this season, and that includes getting a little bit more control in the midfield, holding possession more, and that means someone like Glen Kamara. And this isn't just a sort of subtle, "Ooh, agents will talk to journalists" sort of level of interest. It includes their sporting director openly flirting with a move in a press conference, talking about Glen Kamara, saying, yeah, we know we're interested. If he wants to come, then he wants to come. So this has been on the cards a little bit. Since that, we've had a little bit more detail happening, including news on a potential probable move. Reports have since said there is a €10 million or £8.4 million fee agreed between the two clubs. In addition to that, Glen Kamara himself has also reportedly agreed terms. To me, this says that Glen Kamara himself isn't exactly going to mind the move. Where you had Archie Gray potentially in tears at moving to Spurs, Glen Kamara is less of a club man. Moved to Leeds United, had a season, and has now signed terms. That tells me that maybe he wants to find European football on the continent, which is completely fine. And from a financial perspective, this is also fine. We signed him for £5.5 million last season, and it's a simple enough profit. It's £3 million already. Amortization means that's a little bit more on the books. I had someone mention that it should be depreciation, but that always confuses me a little bit. But as much as we talk about the finances, we understand that we do still need to compete. We can't go into a season being like, haha, we've got £300 million in the bank. And then we go to play West Brom and we've just put out a team of under 21s and under 18s. But that isn't what's going to happen, because we've also had a few words on a potential replacement. Many worried before this move was even discussed that Joe Rothwell was a potential Glen Kamara replacement. Reportedly, and this is according to whatever story I read, sources have indicated that this is not the case. And I think from a third-party perspective, without any sources as well, you can sort of see that that's what's happening anyway. It's pretty clear. They are very, very different profiles of player. Joe Rothwell is someone who is very happy to get box to box, happy to attack the other side, happy to have a shot. He's also quite careful in his passing. So last season, when he spent a little bit of time at Southampton, not one of his passes went to someone offside or someone that had a blocked pass. And he also scored 4 of his 7 shots last season. Glen Kamara over the entire season had 5 shots and none of them went in. Vastly different footballers. Rothwell came in to give us an option, and it looks like we'll be getting a different player in for Glen Kamara, just to make sure that we have enough options in midfield, get us back up to that 4, which is fine by me, and the fee that we receive should cover a replacement with relative ease. Say we sign someone for £8 million, 4-year contract, that only goes down as us dropping £2 million on this year, which still gives us £1 million of profit based on the Glen Kamara thing. The entire thing's the Glen Kamara thing. It's really late. Anyway, we've also discovered what this could potentially mean for the squad, and this is a potentially bigger area of discussion. But to me, as much as some people think that it could be a colossal problem that could ruin our promotion efforts, for me, it's a little bit more irritating than it is season ending. Glen Kamara's good, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy him. The fact that we have a nice, safe passer of the ball is good, and it means that we control games a little bit more. But he's replaceable, and my main irritation with it is that it takes time to bed in new footballers. When you move into a new job, you don't just move into the new job and things are completely fine. No, you move in and you are like, shit, okay, so where's X, Y, Z? If you've moved to a different country at the same time, then you're even more confused, and these things cycle and cycle and cycle, and you're not going to get the best performances out of someone that's just moved to a new club or a new country. So basically, I think Kamara was going to be better this season anyway. And add on to that the fact that breaking up Ampadu or Gruev and Kamara as a pairing is a shame, because that was coming on really well. It was meaning that our fullbacks could really bomb on 99% of the time because we knew we had that solid midfield double pivot holding back a little bit with the centre-backs alongside them. So we'd hold on to possession, create some nice attacking threat from the likes of Junior Firpo and whoever the hell our right-back's going to be this season. Another thing that's really irritating is this sort of shows the financial weakness of the Championship. The bids come in for £8 million, and we're in a spot where it feels silly to not accept it because it's so hard to make a profit in this division. There is a bright side to that. It gives us a little bit more wiggle room in terms of the money, and it limits the need for any further sales, and it means that we can potentially bid a little bit more on players that we're trying to get in. But it's still a pain, I think. It's still annoying. I think the big question for me is it the right move? And at the end of the day, we have to recognize that every player has a price. There becomes a point where it's not financially viable to retain that footballer. And £8 to £10 million for Glen Kamara genuinely isn't too bad. He's a good player, yeah, but I'd say if it is £8.4 million, that's a little bit more than where his value actually lies, in my opinion. And it's especially the case that it's not the worst thing if he's pushing hard for the move. We know he's agreed terms, which means that we know he's not super reluctant. And apparently this conversation's been happening for a long time and interest has been spreading far and wide. So maybe his agent's been having the occasional word with people as well. But I think for me, the question and potential problem is more about replacing him. Because if we don't do that, then we're missing a first-team midfielder in a squad that is already looking relatively thin. There's a lot of work to do in the coming weeks. And I just hope we get it done in a timely and good manner and make sure that we can push for promotion really hard. I would rather we clean house now and get all the players out that have any doubts rather than them moving on deadline day and rebuild in full and have as much pre-season as possible to attack the Championship from day one than leave it to the last minute like last year. But I hope we don't see any more huge outgoings aside from the ones we already expect, like a Somerville or a Nanto. But that's all what I think. As much as I think it could be really, really, really bad for us, it's not the worst thing to have happened. But I also want to know what you think. So let me know in the comments down below. That's always massively appreciated. Pop a like on the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe if you're not yet. It's always good to have new people around. And every subscriber is 1p going to Prostate Cancer UK by the start of the season. Hope you enjoyed. I will see you later. I still can't get over the fact that there's a Finnish guy called Glen Kamara. This feels wrong. Doesn't make sense. Madness.